You are the left, and you were a prisoner to the extreme left.
Do you think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party?
No,
at this point?
I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party.
That means they don't have the information.
Okay, but 90% of the voters don't have the information.
Maybe you need to listen to the news when you're in traffic.
So Stephen A. Smith was on The View, and he basically destroyed a panel with some basic common sense. Watch.
So you think the Republicans are sort of an extreme fringe party?
No,
at this point?
I don't think that they're an extreme fringe party. I think that they're operating against those they believe are extreme on the left. Like, for example, when you talk about the LGBTQ community, I'm a fiscal conservative and I'm a social liberal. I'm fiscal with my dollars. I ain't apologizing for not wanting to pay high taxes to anybody. I'm not apologizing for that, right? But outside of that, I'm pretty liberal. Live and let live, okay? But you had folks on the left that were introducing some things when we got in the whole transgender issue, and they were talking about bathrooms, or they were talking about males transitioning to females and competing against girls in sports and stuff like that. These
That's
are
less than 1% of the population.
I understand that,
But you know what?
That's ridiculous.
And Sonny with her statement that is ridiculous. I don't see how that is ridiculous. It's ridiculous that you got men competing against women in the Olympics, men competing against women in boxing, men competing against women in other sports, where the woman probably dedicated so much time to get better at this craft just to come in second to a man, because the man has some strange fantasies that is unrighteous to dominate in a female sports. Absolutely ridiculous. They have on the left in some schools where children could change their gender without the parents even knowing. So those agendas we can't tolerate. And this is exactly why Afro-American people voted the way they voted. Get back to the video.
But see, I think that's where the mistake is made.
Yeah,
You're saying it's ridiculous. I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
But most of the voters out there don't think like that.
But
that
means they don't have the information.
Okay, but 90% of the voters don't have the information. If you're out there busting your tail to make ends meet and to pay your bills, and you're going to work every day, and you got a family to take care of, and you're in New York City, you're getting stuck 2 hours of your day, you're stuck in traffic. You understand? You got a whole bunch of stuff to go through. You don't have time to know what you and I know.
Maybe you need to listen to the news when you're in traffic.
Well, again,
maybe
I agree
not.
with
Not
that.
be uninformed.
Or you listen to stuff that's going to take you away from the things that brings down your spirit. And that's unfortunately what most voters are doing.
Let me ask you.
Lack of empathy for people, knowing that there's people out there who are struggling, who's trying to make ends meet, and she's going to say maybe you should make some time to watch the news. It's absolutely absurd. First of all, who watches the news right now? The news is pretty much a propaganda machine where some people on the left is using that as a weapon to pretty much brainwash people. So, and most of the news is nothing uplifting. When you finish watching the news, you're probably gonna feel down. You're probably not gonna feel as motivated or anything like that, because most of it is just not uplifting. It's just showing a lot of wicked things in the world, a lot of things that is not going to be helping you go throughout the day with a positive, right mindset that we need to have when we out in the work field, when we out there working, helping people. That's not the mindset that we want to have. By watching the news, that's what could happen. If we watch news, watch this next clip.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back to what you said about black men being very comfortable with matriarchy, and I agree with that, because black households are often led by a grandmother, black grandmother or black mother.
Let me stop her right there. Some black men are not necessarily in favor of matriarchy. Most of them are in that position by default. Because why? Most of the men are in jail. Most of them are behind bars, and because of that, the mothers or grandmothers or something. It could be another case where maybe the father's not just in the life because the father decided not to be in the life, but for the most part, most of them are in jail, and then the mother have to take responsibility to raise the child, or the grandmother, or some other female, a guardian. And because of that, most men who are raised like that, they may feel like a little bit more matriarch. But I think what is missing for most men is a father figure. And when you have a father figure in the home, especially a father figure that's a believer, it can play a significant role in the way they view things. If a man is in the house, especially a believer, as I said, then maybe focus more on the things that is of God, things that is righteous, things that is going to make people's lives better, things that's going to help society, not destroy society. And I think that's what some of the left people want to do. That's what most men need, is the father figure, especially a believer in Christ, where that person could lead them to Christ. And he's the ultimate father, right? If he could father us better than our earthly father, than anybody, he's the ultimate father. He's our heavenly father. He loves us. He cares for us. He wants to give us a hope in the future. He doesn't want to harm us. Then let's not forget that so with all that being said, let's get back to the video.
However, 55% of Latino men voted for Trump. Why do you think that happened?
Well, I think that economically, they were looking at things. First of all, you've got, in this country, you've got Cubans, Mexicans, Puerto Ricans, Guatemalans, Venezuelans, Colombians, et cetera, et cetera. And if you talk to the Hispanic community, depending on who you're talking to, they think differently. The Cubans think differently than the Dominicans. The Dominicans think different than Colombians. To some, the economy was a priority. To some, believe it or not, it was the border. You had some folks within the Hispanic populace that were encouraging the borders to be closed.
I'm Puerto Rican, right? So the Hispanic community is not a monolith. I agree with you. And a lot of, I think, people that are of Hispanic origin from, let's say, South America or Central America, they're willing to close the door behind them instead of letting somebody else in.
She automatically assumed that most Hispanic would just vote for Kamala because she's letting in the immigrants, and these people can't just think for themselves. This is absurd what these people really think about people.
You are the left. You leaned and you were a prisoner to the extreme left in a lot of people's eyes. Well, guess what? Most of America doesn't operate on the fringes. Whether you're left or you're right, you're relatively centrist. You believe in compromise, negotiation, working with one another. Nobody gets to get everything they want. The problem is those on the fringes continuously push for you to get everything you want. They're not about getting things done. They're about getting their way. And if they're not going to get their way, they're about complaining and griping about it, because they understand that when you are operating based off of grievance, that's usually what provokes you to get to the polls. And that is why they don't mind feeling aggrieved and displaying and disseminating that kind of message, because they know people are going to gravitate to that. And as a result, that might get them to the polls, you thinking you're going to get what you want as a result.
Most of the Democrats took it to the extreme, all these woke ideologies, and even to the point where they seemingly want to censor people who are not in agreement with what they're saying, which we should all have our voice, our freedom of speech, where we can voice our opinion without being penalized, without being censored on social media, without being blocked off from speaking our voice. To me, that's like a dictatorship, socialism. Now watch this next clip of Stephen A. Smith saying why most voters may not trust the Democrats anymore.
One thing to recognize is this, and I've said this often. When we look at the economy, I remember when Biden came into the office, he inherited about 1.5% inflation. It ballooned to about 9.1% before it ultimately came down to where it is now, right? That doesn't mean anything to minorities. The percentage of inflation, and here's the percentage. Nah. How much does gas cost? How much does the groceries cost, okay? How much does rent cost? How much does my mortgage cost? That's what folks pay attention to, what's actually in their wallet. I don't know too many minorities that want to trust the system. And so when people speak, although you're right and righteous with your emotion and your righteous indignation, other people are saying we have the right to have righteous indignation when it comes to our pocket, or when it comes to our lifestyle, or when it comes to our environment. If we see crimes in the streets and stuff like that, we see homelessness and it's ballooned, we got a problem with that, and we don't believe this person is the answer compared to that. So what? They might have insulted a bunch of people. We don't like it, we hate it, but in the end, it's not more important than my pocketbook or my lifestyle.
Most of the Democrats wants to keep the minorities down so they can have the control over them, give them free food, give them free housing, give them free things so they could keep coming back and voting for them. And if you decide you want to step out, it's like, oh no, we can't have that. We gotta make sure you stay in the system and continue to vote for us, because this is how our systems work. We give you all these free things, tolerate our woke ideologies, and if you say something against us, we could prosecute you because you don't agree with us. It's absolutely absurd. Alright, with that being said, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let's level up together. We want to get some more people. And remember, for His glory, peace, stand for righteousness.